So you can basically work one direction with your forearm ironing, proximally till distally, or you can work with both arms at the same time. You can start off with basically gradually ironing, and if things are warmed up well enough, then you could actually, make sure you get down to your client 7 right away and actually turn this ironing into some friction.
When you press too deep and their muscles tense up, do you just go back to effleurage and then move back in?
Generally I'll kind of soothe it out, make it feel nice again, and if it feels ready to go in there again, then I will work in there, or it maybe feels like the area is too reactive now and I need to give it a break and work somewhere else. Similarly, you can use forearm or elbow in opposite directions. This again, if you're pressing, rotating the leg medially, is really good for those clients whose feet are turned outwards, so that you can be stretching their deep rotators of the hip at the same time you're lengthening their vastus lateralis. And again, where I outlined the IT band, you want to be careful that you're not pressing directly right on top of the real tendinous parts of it. That you can work anteriorly or posteriorly to that. And on a 1 to 10 scale, if 7's perfect, where's the pressure? Okay. One of the things about ironing is that you do want to make sure that you get down to a 7 and then melt the tissue in the length of the muscles, as opposed to, like, if this is the skin and this is the bone and this is 7, you don't want to take the duration of most of the stroke to get down to a 7 and then travel along. You want to get down to a 7 and then travel along. And as you travel along, that 7 might vary a little bit. There might be certain spots where you need to lighten up and certain spots where you need to get deeper. If you feel like you need more stability using your forearm, you can always use your other hand to create that stability. And in this case, with those muscles crossing the knee, I want to get right up to the knee, sink in. And where's the pressure at now? Now, in your real practice, especially if you're spending a lot of time with the thighs, you could travel the whole length of the muscle in different locations. I'm going to just show 1 or 2 good strokes so it doesn't take too long, but as I'm following this muscle, there are definitely tighter and looser spots, and so basically I just want my attention and focus to be assessing the tissue the entire length. I might need to slow down or move a little medial or a little lateral in certain spots. And I might need to change the angle of my tool. And my pressure. If possible, as far as the sheet's boundary will allow and time will allow, it can be nice to take the stroke the entire length of the muscle rather than ending somewhere in the middle of the muscle. Now, there was something I did in the middle of the stroke that I want to point out. There's a tighter spot that where the muscle starts to come more to a point. And a lot of times you're going to come to spots in a muscle where the shape of what's tight is smaller. So if I'm on a, if I feel a different shape of what's tight, I want to basically match my tool so that if I'm too small and pokey on top of a tight spot, that's going to encourage it to sort of jump out of the way. So I have to make sure that I'm on top of the tight spot with a broad enough tool so that it doesn't just jump out of the way. So when you see me vary from something like angling like this to moving down like this, it's to change the shape so that I have a big enough tool on top of what's tight so that it doesn't just pop out of the way. Then you can come back and flush it with effleurage, petrissage, and warming friction. And as you do so, reassess, and you will see what has released and what is still tight. And it's softening up quite substantially. There's very easy to grab parts of the muscle now. Easy to separate the muscle. So now I can feel very specific spots that are tight, and that's where I would attend to some friction. So I'm going to show you just an example of friction before we move on. Since I've warmed up the area, separated the muscles, gotten through the layers, I can now assess certain tight spots that are areas that are stuck together or haven't quite let go. And linear friction is very simple in theory and just takes practice to feel in your hands. Here's a tight muscle. I can feel a tight band right here. I'm going to get down, and it's running in this direction. I'm going to get down to a 7, face in the direction of the muscle, and wait patiently till it melts. The trickiest thing, I think, about this technique is the patience and non-force that it requires. So I could be at a pressure level of 7, trying to use my force to make his muscle relax, and it won't. Or I could be at the same pressure level, but kind of hang back and just listen to the tissue, and it will almost magically melt. So the trick is to get down to a 7, face in the right direction, and patiently wait and just listen. And then it will take you in that direction. It almost looks like compression oftentimes because it is oftentimes that slow. The tool that you use will just vary on how wide it needs to be to cover the tight spot and how much pressure and what good angle you need to get. So it could be your elbow, could be your fist, could be your fingers together, could be a thumb. You want your tool to be at least a little bit wider than the tight spot you're on so that the tight spot doesn't just jump out of the way. And where's the pressure at 1 to 10? If 7's perfect, 10's too deep.
I think that's
This one takes practice, and I'd like you to start spending some time with friction this week, where once stuff is warmed up enough, you get down to a 7, but you hang back, pull back a little bit, and wait. Because if you use any effort or force or try to make it release, it won't. But if you hang back a little bit, it'll start melting. It's one of the coolest things in the world.
In the world.
when you hang back.
Oh, I'm serious. Totally not even exaggerating.
I felt it before.
Yeah.
When you hang back, are you backing off? So maybe like a 6?
Well, no,
Or
you don't
just
even have to
stay
be a
there?
6. It's very interesting. You could be at a physical 7 that is a little too forceful, or a physical 7 that is just waiting and listening. So it's all about your intention, and you don't even have to really change your pressure. So I could still be at a 7, but instead of trying to force through the tissue or make him relax, I just hang back and listen. And then it starts to melt. When Linda practiced on me the other day, we were able to talk through it. Do you have any?
It's something you do. It's real subtle. It's not like, you know, a whoosh or anything. It's real subtle.
Now it's traveling quite quickly. I don't know if you can see that. But sometimes it'll melt even slower than that. And obviously you have to be careful about how far you'll travel with strokes on the medial thigh, so I'm not going to take it all the way to the end of the muscle. You could, with proper training, there are certain positions and techniques you can do to appropriately work the adductors all the way to their attachments, but we just don't work to their origins. And now that muscle that was a tight band, soft, soft, soft. Yeah. It's a really cool thing. And then what you do is you just flush it out and you reassess. Oftentimes you will have that one little spot you traveled with totally soft, and then maybe some of its neighbors are now saying that they would like the same. They get jealous.